What's my favorite part? I think the caramel cream. I mean, the caramel cream, it's the most significant part of the whole cake. And it's really good. An icebox cake, you just have to assemble all the ingredients into a little pan and throw it in the fridge and then forget about it for a few hours. You start with store-bought cookies, which is my favorite thing ever because after they go into the dessert, they soften up and become cake. So you don't have to bake anything. We're using store-bought ginger cookies. Then we're gonna layer that with a quick raspberry jam and a caramel whipped cream. And then it's gonna sort of set together into this beautiful little square that we can cut and serve without ever turning on the oven. To my pot, I'm gonna add my fresh raspberries, a little bit of granulated sugar, and now just for a little extra fun, I'm adding some crystallized ginger. And I think crystallized ginger and raspberries go really well together, and it's delicious. We all snack on it. My son loves to snack on it. The raspberries are very sweet, so the ginger sort of cuts through a little bit of that sweetness, adds a little bit of spiciness, so it's not just sort of one note. So there's no water or anything in here, just berries, because basically the heat is gonna break down the berries. I didn't wanna add much else because I didn't want to dilute the flavor at all. I'm just sort of mashing it up. I'm waiting till they warm up and release some of their liquid and break down a little bit. I really don't want to cook it like crazy because I want it to taste fresh. And I am going to add a little bit of cornstarch because I want it to be slightly thicker. And I'm just adding a little bit of my hot jam. I don't want to add the cornstarch directly to my mixture because then we might have lumps. So I'm adding it to my hot jam in a little bowl. This is a slurry. And then I'm gonna add that back into my puree. And now this does have to cook for about a minute because you don't want it to taste raw and you do want it to thicken up a little bit, and that needs a little bit of heat. So you can kind of tell because it starts sort of opaque, and then as you continue to cook it, it becomes clear again. Look at that. Can you see? It's like shiny again. And I'm leaving all the seeds in because I don't mind them one bit, but if you want to strain out the seeds, you could certainly do that. I mean, if you wanted to, you could just call it a day. Eat this with a spoon or on yogurt or ice cream or something and let it cool down completely because you don't want it to be hot when you add it to your layers. Let that go and we'll make our caramel cream. To make our caramel cream, we have to start by making a caramel sauce. I like to put my water in first and then put your sugar in because my goal is to not get too much sugar on the outside of the pan. I don't want anything sticking to the outside of the pan that could fall back in and crystallize my caramel mixture. Then I just sort of give it a loving little swirl so that it's all moist. And now I'm gonna turn on the heat and I'm gonna let it do its thing. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not really gonna swirl it until things get started. I'm just gonna let it live. That's the best advice I can give you for caramel. Just don't F with it because it'll be fine. If it crystallizes, which you'll see, it'll get like sort of bubbly and wavy and funny looking. All you have to do is just add a few drops of water and reheat it and it will come back. And the truth is you don't even need water. The only reason to put water in there is to sort of slow the process down to make it a little more manageable. Okay, so now I'm seeing it's starting to get a little bit caramel colored in one little corner. So that means come back to the stove and pay attention because once it starts going, it goes pretty fast. I am gonna swirl it. Once it gets really brown in that one corner, I'm gonna swirl it. I don't know why anybody would buy caramel because it's so easy. And it's so much more delicious when you make it from scratch. See that color? It's pretty dark now. But imagine when you add your heavy cream, it's gonna get lighter. So you want it to be nice and dark. It is gonna seize a tiny bit when you add the cream and you just cook it for another couple minutes until it smooths out. It looks kind of loose now, but I promise when it cools, it will thicken up. So it is super important that this caramel cools down completely before you whip your cream and fold them together. If you try to whip this into your cream, it will all just become a puddle and be really sad. Although it probably would still taste good. You can make like a milkshake or something. I'm really into turning mistakes into something else. So don't throw away your mistakes. All right, there's my caramel. Look at that. Do you see how easy that is? We have our beautiful caramel sauce completely cool and some heavy cream. I had my bowl in the freezer and my whisk attachment in the freezer. It just helps the cream come together a little faster. So we'll put that in. Just the action of adding the caramel will continue to stiffen the cream. So we want to start with it at medium so that we end up with stiff. We're almost there. I love watching cream whip. I just love dairy so much. Let's see. No, that's a nice soft peak. See how the little peak moves? See that? She bends over a little. Okay, so now I'm just folding in my caramel. If you feel like you got a little too stiff, which actually mine kind of did, you can just add a little bit more cold heavy cream and mix that in, and it'll sort of get a little more fluid. Okay. I have this beautiful 8-inch square baking pan, and I really like the ones that have super straight corners as opposed to the ones that have rounded corners and that sort of bow outwards, because when you build it in one of those and you take it out of the pan, it just looks funny. I'm gonna line it with a couple of strips of parchment paper. And you wanna make sure you have this like 2 inches of extra parchment on either side so that you can lift your cake out when it's finished. Just like that. And I didn't butter the pan when I put this in because we're gonna chill it, so we don't want our butter to firm up and glue our cake to the pan, basically. The first thing we have to do is put down our beautiful little ginger cookies. These are store-bought ginger cookies. They're nice and thin and crisp and delicious. They won't be crisp once we make our cake, but they're a really good cookie. But I'm using ginger today because I wanted to sort of tie it in with that beautiful crystallized ginger that's in the puree. Don't stress if they break. That's the beauty of an icebox cake. It don't matter because you're not gonna know. You're not gonna be able to see it. So I might even just break a couple so we have sort of a full layer of cookies on the bottom. I like to put a layer of cookies on the bottom just to give the whole cake a little bit of structure, so it's sort of easier to serve. Now we're gonna put some of our beautiful raspberry sauce. I think an offset spatula is gonna be your friend here. And now we'll put 3/4 of a cup of fresh raspberries. But I'm gonna stand them up because then when we slice the cake, we'll get these beautiful pieces that have visible raspberries. And now we'll do 2 cups of our caramel whipped cream. Yum. I'm gonna dollop it around because this is the part. Now, if you wanted to be really precise about it, you could throw this into a piping bag and pipe the caramel cream over so that you don't disturb those little raspberries, but it's not essential. I like to measure it for 2 reasons. Number one, I don't want to run out of anything before I get to the top layer. And secondly, I want all the layers to be pretty much exactly the same thickness. We're just spreading this out evenly. We are going to repeat this 1, 2, 3 times. It's kind of like making a lasagna out of cookies. Now, let's do that again. So 1/2 cup of this business. I have a little extra. For this layer, I decided not to set my raspberries up. 2 more cups of cream. Well, you know, I'm trying to dispel the myth that baking has to be super fussy and precise because I want it to be fun. I mean, you don't have to have dessert. Dessert is just for fun. So the process of making dessert should be equally fun and stress-free. Now, since this is my last layer, I'm not even gonna measure, I'm just gonna use it up. The moisture from the cream and the sauce will sort of seep into those cookies and soften them and make them sort of cake-like. All the flavors will sort of, you know, meld together. It'll be good. Ooh, yum. And that's it. Easy peasy. Now we just have to wrap it up. Kind of weighs a ton. Small servings. All right, everybody say a little prayer. Getting this out. If you have a buddy in the kitchen, you can get them to grab 2 sides, but I'm gonna do it solo. Okay, she's out. Look at the sides. Doesn't it look so pretty? It's so luscious and creamy and yum. So we have our cake. It's okay if it's a little messy on the edges. Don't stress about it, because also we're gonna top it with some beautiful fruit. It's gonna look cute. I like to put raspberries on top so everyone knows what is inside. These pretty gooseberries. I may cut some of them. They're really good because they're They're sort of tart. They're delicious. I love them. The science behind my decorating is just trust your gut. Just feel it out. Do what feels fun. I don't want to cut these. I like how pretty they are, how red they are. And they look so pretty on top. I think it looks kind of fun. Also, you know that all that cream is super duper rich, so the extra fresh fruit kind of cuts all that richness. And voila, now we can slice it. Ooh. I have a little bucket here of hot water to sort of clean my knife in between slices. It's not essential, but it's nice. It's very soft, so you can cut with anything. Let's see if I can get a piece out. Ay, ay, ay. Look at that. I'm gonna go right here because I want all those raspberries. So soft. It's really, it's pretty delicious. It's so soft. All those wonderful cookies sort of softened into a cake. The cream is really rich, but all that beautiful fruit sort of cuts it. You get just a hint of ginger, but it's not a lot, just a hint from the crystallized ginger that's in the compote. But then the fresh fruit sort of adds a little more texture to all that softness. It's pretty good. I think this is the perfect summer dish because you get to use a ton of fresh fruit, all the things that are in season, and you don't have to turn on your oven. So your house doesn't get hot, which your whole family will be very happy about. I love her. I love her. We're buddies now. Do I have an icebox? I have a refrigerator. What, is an icebox just like with a literal block of ice?